Casio is running the exact playbook Rolex spent decades perfecting, and this Japanese electronics company has been doing it right in front of the watch world without anyone noticing. In the third quarter of fiscal year 2026, Casio's timepiece segment posted a 976% surge in operating profit. That's a 19.4% operating margin on watches. While Swatch Group, the owner of Omega, Longines, and Breguet, reported an 89% profit collapse, while Tag Heuer scrambled to find an identity, while the entire Swiss watch establishment argued about who was losing slower. Casio, the company the watch world dismisses as a manufacturer of rubber school watches, is generating over $1 billion a year from its watch business alone. And it's doing it with a strategy that looks, from a corporate distance, almost identical to Rolex's. This is the Casio conversation nobody's having. The first thing you need to understand is the structure of the business. Casio Computer makes calculators, digital pianos, and educational software, but the timepiece segment accounts for approximately 63% of total company sales. In fiscal year 2025, Casio's total revenue was approximately $1.72 billion, which means the watch business alone is generating over $1 billion a year, with operating profit that now exceeds every other segment Casio runs combined. Calculators are essentially subsidized by the watch business. The music instruments division runs at a loss. Casio is functionally a watch company that also makes calculators. And yet, when watch media covers the state of the industry, Casio barely appears. The conversation stays locked inside a bracket between roughly $5,000 and $50,000, Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and then the collapsing mid-tier below them. Nobody is sitting down to analyze Casio's operating margin. Nobody is comparing it to Seiko, which has spent decades trying to climb the luxury ladder through its Grand Seiko line, or Citizen, which built its own durable watch empire around eco-drive technology. In the broader context of Japanese horology, Casio's financial performance stands apart from all of them. That's the first part of the blind spot. Here's the second. In one recent quarter, Casio's timepiece revenue rose 4.4% year over year on a currency-neutral basis. Unit volume actually declined 9.6%. What filled the gap was a 10.8% increase in average selling price. Fewer watches sold, higher price per watch, revenue still went up. If you've spent any time on this channel, you'll recognize that playbook immediately. It's exactly what Rolex does: raise prices and let desirability fill the gap between supply and demand. The difference is that Rolex is doing it on a $12,000 Submariner, and Casio is doing it on a luxury watch that starts at $110. The watch world has written thousands of articles about Rolex's pricing strategy, how it controls the gray market, manages dealer allocations, and raises retail prices while demand stays elevated. Nobody is writing those articles about Casio because the price point doesn't feel serious, but the mechanism is identical. And right now, it's working better for Casio than it is for Swatch. To understand why that's possible, you have to go back to 1981. Kikuo Ibe was a young engineer at Casio when he dropped the mechanical watch his father had given him. It broke on the floor. That single moment became a one-line product proposal submitted at a company meeting, a durable watch that would not break even if dropped. Ibe spent the next 2 years developing the concept in secret, throwing over 200 prototypes from a third-floor bathroom window onto the pavement 10 meters below, analyzing what broke, strengthening that component, and throwing it again. He repeated that cycle hundreds of times. In 1983, the DW5000C hit the market. The G-Shock. It was built around what eBay called the triple 10 concept, designed to survive a 10-meter drop, withstand 10 bar water pressure, and run for 10 years on a battery. At a time when every luxury watch was being made thinner, lighter, and more delicate, eBay went in the opposite direction entirely and made a watch designed to be abused. The Swiss watch establishment paid no attention. That was a catastrophic mistake. Through the 1980s, G-Shock found its first audience in construction workers and outdoor professionals. Then through the 90s, something unexpected happened. The Beastie Boys started wearing them, NWA wore them, Public Enemy wore them. Hip-hop artists adopted the G-Shock not because Casio paid them to, but because the watch matched the culture. Tough, functional, unbothered by the status games playing out in the luxury bracket. That organic connection to hip-hop culture and streetwear became one of the most valuable pieces of brand equity in the watch business, acquired at zero marketing cost. Skateboarders picked it up next, then extreme sports athletes, and military units around the world standardized on it for field operations. By 1998, Casio had nearly 20 million G-Shock units across hundreds of models. By 2017, cumulative global shipments crossed 100 million. By 2024, the total stood at approximately 140 million G-Shocks sold. For comparison, Rolex has produced roughly 40 million watches in its entire history. Casio didn't just build a watch, they built the most widely distributed watch brand on Earth. At every price point, across every demographic, on every continent, and they did it without once being taken seriously by the watch press. Then came 2019, and the CasiOak, the GA2100, launched quietly that year at a retail price of approximately $110. Its case was octagonal, and the integrated strap flowed from the case in a way that reminded people of something very specific, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. A luxury watch that cost somewhere between $25,000 and $300,000 was designed by Gerald Genta in 1972 and was unveiled at the Basel Fair that year. It is considered one of the most important watch designs of the 20th century. Watch enthusiasts immediately nicknamed it the CasiOak. The name went viral and the watch sold out. A secondary market developed. A $110 watch was trading above retail on the gray market, not because Casio manufactured artificial scarcity, but because the design was genuinely that good and the price was genuinely that accessible. What Casio had done was trigger the exact hype cycle the watch world associates with Rolex and Audemars Piguet. The formula was iconic design, broad cultural recognition, and supply that could not keep pace with demand. It fired on a watch that costs less than dinner for two at a decent restaurant. And rather than staying at $110, Casio did what Rolex does. They extended the line upward. The full metal GM 2100 followed at $550. Premium configurations climbed past $1,000. Today, Casio's MRG line retails at prices starting around $3,000, with certain models reaching $8,000. An $8,000 G-Shock built in titanium with a DLC-coated bezel and sapphire glass sits in the same luxury watch price bracket as a Tag Heuer Carrera or a Tudor Black Bay. LVMH, which owns Tag Heuer alongside Louis Vuitton and Hublot, has spent billions building that luxury positioning. Casio arrived at the same price point from the opposite direction. That's the architecture Casio has built, and that nobody in watch media is documenting. At the base, the Casio F91W was launched in 1989. It retailed between $10 and $20, and it has sold over 100 million units, making it one of the best-selling watches in human history. At the next tier, the standard G-Shock lineup sits in the $100 to $300 bracket, dominating the durable watch market for 4 decades. Above that is the CasiOak family, spanning roughly $100 to $1,000. At the apex is the MRG, priced from $3,000 to $8,000, competing on materials and finishing directly with Swiss mid-tier luxury. No Swiss brand runs that range. Rolex does not sell a $20 watch. Omega does not sell a $100 watch. Swatch Group has tried to cover the price spectrum through separate brand architecture, with Swatch at entry, Tissot in the middle, Longines above that, and Omega at the top, but those brands do not share DNA, do not share cultural equity, and cannot be summoned into the same conversation. Casio covers that entire spectrum with one brand, one identity, and one set of values that every buyer at every price point can point to. Seiko has attempted something similar with its tiered architecture, Seiko at entry, Seiko Presage in the middle, Grand Seiko at the top. But even Grand Seiko operates as a functionally separate brand requiring its own horological reputation building. Casio does it all under one name. That is not an accident. That is a decades-long strategic decision the watch industry has chosen not to notice. One more thing. In October 2024, Casio was hit by a ransomware attack. The underground ransomware group gained access to Casio's servers through a phishing campaign, rendered multiple systems inoperable, and claimed to have exfiltrated 204.9 gigabytes of data. Casio refused to pay the ransom. The stolen material, including internal documents, invoices, contracts, financial files, and employee records, was published on a dark web leak site. The attackers decided Casio's internal information was worth stealing and worth threatening to release. That is a particular kind of assessment. Ransomware groups target companies whose data has value, and they targeted a Japanese electronics manufacturer that, on paper, makes calculators and rubber watches. What they found inside those servers was the intellectual property of one of the most profitable, most widely distributed, most culturally embedded watch businesses on Earth. The watch world looks at Casio and sees a school watch. The ransomware group looked at the same company and saw something worth 200 gigabytes of leverage. The watch world has the analysis wrong. Here's what Casio actually is: a company that spent 40 years building the exact playbook Rolex gets credit for perfecting. Raise prices while volume declines, and protect the margin, operating margin, which is the percentage of revenue left over after operating costs. And Casio's 19.4% is frankly exceptional for a watch business at this scale. Build cultural cachet through authenticity rather than artificial scarcity. Create a brand that means something to people who will never spend $5,000 on a luxury watch. Then extend that equity upward into tiers that will. Run the full price spectrum under one name, one identity, and one consistent set of values. The Swiss watch industry is in genuine structural trouble. Exports are falling, Swatch Group's profit collapsed 89%, the mid-tier is being crushed, the gray market premium on Rolex is cracking. And in the middle of all of that, Casio's watch business just posted a 19.4% operating margin. That's the Casio conversation nobody in this space is having, and now you're having it.